Hey everybody. So I got something to discuss here. Um I want to talk about the freaking SEC people and how there's been a lot of whining and moaning and complaining from these people lately that doesn't freaking make sense to me. And I got to say something about it. A lot of the stuff is frankly shocking. That they're saying and I'm blown away, honestly, by a lot of it. Um, and the people that are complaining, these people I'm referring to, are including but not limited to SEC fans, SEC coaches, and SEC administration. Are all complaining about the playoffs in one way or another. And I want to talk about it. Namely, the three teams I want to discuss today: Georgia, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Okay, so let's talk about Georgia first. Let's get them out of the way. Obviously, I hate those people. And Kirby Smart said something the other night that I I didn't, after they won the SEC championship. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was like, damn. But the more you look into it, the really more ridiculous it freaking is that he said this. So after they win the SEC championship, he goes, "We just overcame having to freaking go on the road all year. That Greg Sankey and his staff have sent us on the road all year, and we overcame that. Good freaking job, dude. Yeah, you've been sent on the road all freaking year, dude. You've had 4 away games. 4 away games. That's probably a pretty high number for Georgia fans to comprehend. And they're probably like, holy crap, it's almost as high as I can count. That many away games? Let me tell you something. That's not a lot of away games. 4. And don't tell me that freaking neutral site and freaking the Benz is an away game. It's not. You play, I'm looking here. I got their schedule right here. And I'm looking at it. I'm trying to find all these away games that Kirby Smart's crying about. Clemson in the Benz. Tennessee Tech. He didn't go to Tennessee to play them. Kentucky, okay? That is a freaking win. Kroger Field, you barely freaking won. Alabama, that's a road game. You lost. Auburn, Mississippi State. Texas, road game. To your credit, you won. Texas, potential frauds, by the way. Florida, that was a neutral site. You play there every year. Ole Miss, another away game. You lose. That's the entirety of your away games. That's 4. That's 4 true away games. Then you finish out the year, Tennessee, home. UMass, home. Georgia Tech, home. Texas in the Benz. So don't tell me that you've been sent on the road all year. How bad does that look? You got Kirby Smart yelling at, and Sankey's sitting there like, Sankey's sitting there getting hollered at by freaking Kirby Smart. It's a terrible look. And what the hell are you complaining about? Could you be any more of a bitch? Could you be any more of a bitch? I know Georgia plays terribly on the road. But 4 away games to proclaim. That's what's on your mind after you've just won the SEC. That's what you start yelling about. And these Georgia fans, I've seen them roasting the hell out of Ryan Day for coming on and yelling about Lou Holtz after they beat someone. I think they beat Notre Dame or whatever last year or the year before, something like that. And they freaking they're laughing at Ryan Day for having the freaking for Lou Holtz making comments and getting under his skin. Well, apparently having to go on the road 4 times It gets under Kirby Smart's skin enough to where he has to yell it to the world and freaking and shoot shots at his own commissioner for sending him on the road 4 times. It's absolutely pathetic. Kirby Smart is a complete clown. A complete clown. God almighty, dude. That doesn't even have anything to do with the playoffs. I thought that was so obscene and unbelievable. These people will literally complain about anything. Anything, including Alabama. Here we go with Alabama, and I want to put a disclaimer. I love Alabama. They're the one team to consistently beat the Bulldogs over the years. You guys know I cheer against the Bulldogs in every game. Alabama are my freaking people. Roll Tide. They don't belong in the playoffs this year. Take off your crimson freaking shaded glasses for a minute. You know, well, I love my Yellow Jackets. I love these guys more than anything. Okay, I can at least look at the flaws. Half you people want to fire DeBoer, and yet it's like North Korean propaganda. The levels of just the insanity I'm seeing of arguments for Bama to be in the playoffs. It's unbelievable. And it's not even valid arguments. You got Bama people running around saying, well, there's no reason to schedule out-of-conference games anymore, is there? There's no reason to have a good strength of schedule in your out-of-conference games. Hang on. I pulled up Georgia's schedule a minute ago. Let's see Alabama's. What's your out-of-conference schedule that's so freaking difficult that you're going to cancel, okay? That you're gonna cancel these matchups in the future. Western Kentucky, you won 63-0. South Florida, that was a struggle bus. That could it be that? Are you gonna cancel South Florida? You're gonna have a hard time finding teams worse than South Florida's schedule. Or what about 5-7 Wisconsin? Mercer in November. Are you gonna cancel that? Because I've just gone through your non-con. I've just gone through Alabama's entire non-con, and they won all of them. You lost 3 SEC games, 2 of them to 6-6 SEC teams. That's humiliating. You don't belong in the playoffs. It's not out-of-conference games you're losing that are keeping you out of the playoffs. You didn't schedule Ohio State and lose to them in September, and that keeps you out of the playoffs. No. You're losing SEC games. So unless you cancel SEC games against shitty opponents, that's not going to fix your problem. So the out-of-conference argument or the strength of schedule argument or whatever, that non-con is not contributing to your strength of schedule one bit. Okay? So the non-con argument for Alabama blows my mind too. It's insanity. It really is. I'm of the opinion if you lose 3 games, you just don't belong in the playoffs. A lot of people will say, okay, well, South Carolina, they got screwed by the refs at LSU. Yes, okay, for the 1 game, you can lose 1 or 2 games, right? In this new format, you can lose 1 or 2 games and still make it in the playoffs. Chips might have to fall your way if you lose 2 losses. But remember, it was not that long ago. We're losing 1 game. 1. It could even be the conference title. Georgia went undefeated in last season and lost their conference title and were left out. It was so competitive. Right? You used to lose 1 game and you're out. What if you got screwed in your game by the refs? Didn't matter. You were out. The margins were razor thin. They're not anymore. Okay, you get screwed by the refs on 1 game. Well, you got 11 more games, and you're in. Even Indiana with one of the worst strength of schedules in the world, gets in with only one loss. If you're a real playoff team, freaking win all your games or all but one or two of them at most. I don't feel bad at all for a freaking 3 loss. Yes, South Carolina's fun to watch. Yes. They might can make some noise in the playoffs. Did they earn their way there? No. I'm sorry. And Ole Miss is another complainer. Ole Miss and Alabama are the two biggest complainers. You even got Nick Saban. God dang. I love and respect Nick Saban. He's the greatest to ever do it. But you got on him here on TV shilling for Alabama again, and it's sad. They don't belong. Of course he's not going to be. Of course he's going to take up for Alabama and everything. It's just sad to see, man. Kalen DeBoer, not a good job so far at Alabama. Just not a good job. It seems like they have a culture or leadership problem on that team. He's not as strong of a leader because you got players acting out and blah, 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 blah. That's a whole can of worms is the freaking Alabama issues. But, okay. But Alabama, no. You didn't belong in the playoffs. You have a couple of the worst losses of any playoff contending team, right? And what they want to, Ole Miss and Alabama, they do this too. They're like, oh, the SEC is so deep. The SEC is such a tough conference to play in. Dude, you're not even losing. You're not even losing to the really good teams. Yes, you beat the good teams. That doesn't erase or, do away with these awful losses. Okay? I said this yesterday in my video when they put SMU in the playoffs, which was the right choice. Just because you get a great win, that's awesome. That's amazing. You can't lose these embarrassing games. You just can't. Winning those great games is great, and that helps you out when you're a 2-loss team and you're waiting 2-loss teams. So, say Alabama and Miami were both 2 losses. Having that win over Georgia, that's going to get you in over Miami, who doesn't have anything. That doesn't erase your losses, okay? It doesn't erase your losses. Georgia Tech beat Miami. Vanderbilt beat Alabama. Should we forget about the 6 games Vandy lost or the 5 games Georgia Tech lost? And put them in? No. Come on, man. Come on. It's sad. They're begging and grifting to get in the playoffs. This model, a lot of people were saying, me and Rec Talk were discussing this. You have no excuse if you're left out. You have none. I don't feel bad for one team that got left out. I don't feel bad for one team that got left out. You controlled, look at the ones that were out. They controlled their destiny. You could say maybe South Carolina, but I mean, you can't start out 3-3 and you have to have a lot of things go your way to, make the playoffs, like Clemson, winning their auto bid, winning their conference. That's what you got to do if you start out 3-3. That's the only way you can overcome it. Otherwise, you got to have some major chips fall. And I just don't think 3-loss teams should be on. I just don't. So, and Ole Miss, on a final note, Lane Kiffin is pathetic on the Twitter, begging. He's adding the playoffs. Please let us in. He's been going through this rigmarole and even takes shot at the ACC. It's just such a far cry the way that these people think. They're so biased. They're like, oh, well, if any team played in the SEC, this would be this and this and this schedule. They would be, 6-6. Clemson would be 6-6 if they played in the SEC. Like, I get it, man. Like, but you look really dumb when you go to Florida and lose when the teams that you're dissing, Miami in the ACC, went to the swamp and destroyed Florida, and it wasn't close. Why couldn't you do that if you're so much better than ACC teams? Makes no sense. You just look dumb. You look dumb and pathetic if you're a 3-loss team begging to get in the playoffs and claiming and trying to ride the coattails of your conference. The SEC this year, no, man, they're not the most elite conference on a deepest conference on a playing field, way far above everybody else, dude. They're a good conference with, no elite teams, and they cannibalize themselves. Happen to the Pac-12 all the time. Nobody batted an eye. SEC does it 1 year, and all hell breaks loose, dude. You don't need 6 SEC teams in the playoffs, man. You don't. None of them are capable of winning a natty. I'll say it. Alabama's not capable of winning a natty. You put Alabama in that 11 spot, simulate it 100 times, they won't win one. They're not capable of it. So stop crying. And I'll say it too, SMU's not either. There's not 12 teams that can win a playoff this year, a natty this year. There wasn't last year or the year before. There really never has been. It's a freaking. There's been some chaotic years, and this is one of them. But college football is a top-heavy sport, and you either got it or you don't. So, all right, I think I've rambled on long enough. I've just been seeing some foolishness lately, and I had to freaking talk about it. So, anyway, go Jackets. I'll see you guys next time.